This next one I'm going to talk about is the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. And there's a lot of notes that you have to write on Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, so get ready. Find it on your cheat sheet, highlight it, Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. Now, most people don't know that Gramm, Leach, and Bliley, those are senators. And you notice that I have next to their SPF, because I'm trying to make you connect or remember. There are 3 laws that are covered under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. So when you think of a senator, the senator's job is to protect the people. When you think of SPF, you think of protection. I want you to think that the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act has SPF, because you have to remember the 3 laws that come under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act: safeguarding, pretexting, and financial privacy. They're going to ask you, what are the 3 laws that come under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act? I need you to think protection, SPF, safeguarding, pretexting, financial privacy. Now, wherever you're taking notes, let me give you some notes on what each of these are about. And you're going to need a pretty good amount of paper or space. Safeguarding. So, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act has SPF, safeguarding, pretexting, financial privacy. So, the first one we're going to talk about is safeguarding. What is safeguarding? Safeguarding, the first thing they're going to ask you is, what law said that there must be a safeguarding policy in place? The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. The next thing is, what is a safeguarding policy? Here we go. A policy on how credit card companies or institutions must keep our credit card information safe when we use it in their stores. They have to have a policy that explains how they're going to keep our credit card information safe when we use it in their stores. When you go to Target or Sears or Olive Garden or the gas station or wherever, and you use your credit card to pay, you should feel safe that it's not going to be hacked, stolen, anything like that, because they have a safeguarding policy. What is that? A policy on how they're going to keep our information safe when we use it in their stores. This is what, it's just like an employee manual policy. They have to have a policy. This is what we teach our employees on how to keep your information safe. When Target got in all that trouble with the credit card scams, the first thing the Fed said is, let us see your safeguarding policy. Number 1, to see if they had one. Number 2, did your employees follow this? Because how did this happen? And if they did follow it, then maybe it's old or outdated, because how did this happen? A policy on how they're going to keep our credit card information safe when we use it in their establishments. Any company that issues credit cards or take credit cards, they have to have a safeguarding policy. Says who? The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. What is it? A policy on how they're going to keep our information safe when we use it in their stores. The second policy is a pretexting policy. Pretexting policy. So what is that? What law says that there has to be a pretexting policy? The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. What is a pretexting policy? Here we go. It's a policy to keep others from gaining access to your information under false pretenses. And underline the word false pretenses. So I'm going to say that again. What is a pretexting policy? A policy that they have to keep others from gaining your information under false pretenses. Then I want you to put in parentheses the word pretenders. A policy to keep others from pretending to being you, and getting into your information, into your accounts. For example, pretexting policies are like when you lose your password. Now you have to tell them your mother's maiden name and all of that stuff to reset it. Like you're trying to get into, I was trying to get into my husband's bank account just to see what was going on. But I kept messing up the password. And then it says, okay, now you have to reset it. To reset it, you have security questions. Those are pretexting policies. Policies to keep others from gaining access to your personal information under false pretenses. From keeping them from pretending to being you, and getting in your information. What was going on is that you had loan originators. The underwriter would ask for information, last 5 deposits or something, and the borrowers or the loan originators could not get in contact with the borrower. They said, oh, but I have their Chase information. Let me just sign on and I'll get that information from you online. Well, you can't do that. You can't pretend to be them and get into their information. Okay? That's violating the pretexting policy. A policy to keep others from gaining access to your information under false pretenses, pretending to being you, from being you and getting into your stuff. Now, the last one is financial privacy policy. Financial privacy policy. Who says that there has to be one? The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. What is a financial privacy policy? Here we go. The financial privacy policy governs the collection of non-public information and how it's shared with affiliates. So I'm going to say that again. It governs the collection of non-public information. Underline non-public information, that's buzzwords there, and how it's shared with affiliates. A lot of these companies are affiliated with other companies. That's how they get along. They have friends and partners, affiliates. Well, this policy governs what they can collect on you, non-public information. When you fill out a loan application, you're giving them your bank account numbers, your balances, your birth date, your social security. Well, this policy governs what they can collect on you, number one. And number two, what they can share with their affiliates. For example, Chase is affiliated with Providian. So I get junk mail from Providian. Providian is associated with Capital One. So I get that's why you get so much spam and junk mail, because they are all affiliates. Well, this policy governs what they can collect on you and what they can share with their friends and affiliates. Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. Also, you need to write there opt-in, opt-out. Opt-in, opt-out. It gives you the right as a consumer to either opt in or opt out of having your personal information shared. What policy gives you the opportunity to opt in or opt out of having your personal information shared with their affiliates? That will be the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act has SPF, safeguarding, pretexting, and financial privacy.